Okay, this is then the reaction time required practical, right? And the whole point in this is to investigate the effect of a factor on human reaction time. Now, I actually think the practical itself is quite straightforward, but what you've got to do is you just got to make sure that you're keeping things consistent. It's almost like the control variables are the most important thing. So on this one, you've got a meter ruler, right? Or you could use a 30 centimeter ruler. I like a meter ruler because it's kind of bigger and sometimes students can't catch it within 30 centimeters anyway. A chair to sit on, a table to sit on, and then anything else that you might need depending on what you're going to change. The method is person one puts their forearm of their dominant arm across the table, right? So that is then keeping the arm in a fixed position. Person two holds a ruler between person one's thumb and forefinger, right? So obviously it's like that in between. Record the number on the ruler that is level with the top of the person one's thumb. Have a short rest, then repeat the test 5. Forefinger, you've got to make sure it's the same distance every single time. Consistency. Record the number on the ruler that is level with the top of the person's thumb. That's relatively straightforward. Have a short rest, right? I know it's not particularly very tiring, but what you should do is maybe have 30-second rest in between. Another thing that I've seen talked about on these is when you're actually doing the experiment itself, don't look directly at the ruler. Just kind of look away at a dot, right? Because then if you're looking at a dot on a wall somewhere else, you're then looking at your reaction. When you've done it, because you've done it 5 times, calculate a mean. Once you've got your mean for the distance on the ruler, you then use your conversion table. This at the bottom here is a big conversion table, and the chances are if you get asked about any of this in the exam, you'll have a much smaller scaled down version of this. But what this does is it's got the reading on the ruler in that column there, and then it's got your reaction time. And you just got to remember that the lower the reading on the ruler, the shorter the reaction time. Okay, repeat steps 1 to 6 for each person and record the results. So then what you do is you repeat it with the other people. Now what you could do is to change between the individual practicals is you could maybe use a different person, or a different hand rather. You've just done it with a different person, you could maybe do it having drunk a cup of coffee half an hour before. So the variables, don't mess. So dependent is what you measure during the practical, which is your reaction time. Okay, so you do it on the ruler, the distance, and you convert it to reaction time. Don't mess in class. What you change between each one, it could be the person, it could be the hand, it could be whether you've drunk caffeine. You just got to look and see what the question is actually telling you that they're going to change. The control is where you put the ruler itself, because obviously a 30 centimeter ruler and a meter ruler will have different masses. Where you look, and also make sure that the person who's actually doing it isn't being silly and kind of jerking the ruler a little bit, right, to make you think it's going to happen. So it's all got to be done properly and consistently. Okay, I think that practical is pretty straightforward really, the actual process of what you're actually going to do. I think the hardest part about that is talking about the controls, the distance between the fingers, the ruler itself, the person, right, who's actually doing the practical, right, needs to say the same for the first set, and then you need to look at what the practical is actually talking about changing, right, and you've got to kind of tailor the practical itself to whatever the question is asking. And also, if you are asked to write a method, make sure you talk about doing a mean because you've done it 5 times. Make sure you talk about your mean is then used onto a conversion table. Right? So it's kind of like the controls, right, that are probably the most important thing in that practical.